If you look at how much content we've gotten for Marvel's Phase 4, it's absolutely astonishing because in its entire runtime, Phase 4 alone dwarfs the previous 3 phases combined. And that's all in a short amount of time. And many people have argued that this amount of production has somewhat impacted the quality of what we're getting, and I think that's hard to argue because if you have 2 eyeballs, or even 1 eyeball, or just a logical sense, you can see that that is very much a thing. I'm not going to sit here and pretend like it's not, because it is. But now we're hearing that Marvel Studios is reportedly unhappy with how Phase 4 has turned out. So let's just get this out of the way, because people forget, or conveniently like to forget, that Phase 4 has been plagued with plenty of issues that aren't directly connected to quality. Many of these are the same things that impacted everything in Hollywood, which again was a pandemic and problems associated with it, massive job loss, of course, CG companies having to work with tons of studios and literally work with skeleton crews on more projects than ever before. So quality suffered everywhere from every single studio. Disney, of course, with Marvel Studios, that's their golden goose. They made sure that products were coming out on time because that's where revenue is. And nobody's gonna go up against that. We see the rush productions. But it's foolish to say that also it's been a complete failure because box office-wise, it's done pretty well, all things considered. And certainly when it comes to the TV output, it's all there, and we've seen how merchandise associated with those correlates to sales and views. It's been tremendous, if not on par, sometimes surpassing previous phases. Again, we could argue, hey, there's more merchandise based on Phase 4 than there was Phases 1, 2, and 3. Sure, but again, people are buying it, so there's something to be said about that. So what we're hearing is that essentially, Marvel Studios is unhappy with the quality of products in Phase 4, and they're looking to do something about it. We don't know what as of right now. As of the making of this video, nobody's come forward and said, this is what they're going to do. They're going to cancel this, or they're going to shift that, or they're going to move this thing around. But I said this when they announced Avengers The Kang Dynasty and Avengers Secret Wars in the same year. Originally, both stated that they were going to come out in 2025, with 2 films still in between them. 4 films, with 2 of them being Avengers in 1 year. I remember us on the podcast going, this is not possible. Literally, the cast and crews working on the Avengers films are thousands. On top of that, of thousands of CG artists. It would literally just be like a death blow to the industry. And luckily, Secret Wars is delayed now. And I think that's also a part of the decision-making process, which makes me believe that these reports are somewhat true. Now, in regards to them being unhappy with Phase 4, we don't know the logistics, but I'm not going to sit here and pretend like everything's been smooth sailing. Let's be real. If we can be honest for a second, I know there's tons of Eternals fans out there. There's people on this podcast with me that think Eternals is the best thing Marvel Studios has produced in Phase 4, one of the best things ever. I personally don't like it. I think it's all right, but I don't like it. I know there's tons of other people that agree with me, certainly when we look at the reviews from critics and fans. Same thing with other output. You know, that can be also applied to the likes of, for example, Thor: Love and Thunder. I'm not the biggest fan of that film. I literally have one of my best friends. That's his favorite MCU film. He thinks that that film is the greatest thing Marvel Studios has produced in his top 3. Again, to each their own. But at the same time, with each low, we've also had a Loki. We've also had a Spider-Man No Way Home. So, see what I'm getting at here? I think this phase, for lack of a better term, is the worst we've had so far. But it's also because it's the most we've gotten so far. And they're clearly overworked. So do I believe Marvel Studios is unhappy with Phase 4? Yes and no. But I think the yes applies to finally seeing their first run. and having problems with post-production and even rush productions, and also some very wonky scenes due to the fact that the nature of the pandemic really slowed things down. Like, I've made no secret about it. The Falcon and the Winter Soldier is my favorite Disney Plus series. But the later half of that season, just pay attention to how character dialogue works. You can see that these characters were shot at different times in the same location, sometimes months apart, because the shadows don't even line up. Because they had to. And this resulted in a fall in quality. And there's also rush productions and things like She-Hulk, where the secrecy behind it caused what we got in the end, which was rushed CG and problems with visual, well, everything. Again, is it bad? Is it problematic? Are they unhappy with it? Probably. But I think how unhappy with it is being greatly over-exaggerated.